ago, we both found ourselves playing in the University of Cambridge concert band for quite different reasons. Diana because she wanted the chance to play her saxophone in an ensemble again, and myself, as Philip has alluded to, because they were playing the Doctor Who theme that term. After every rehearsal, a group wind up in the Castle Inn, and it was there that we first got talking. We both went on to join the band's committee. I was the chair, and like a cliche film, I started dating my secretary.
Now, from that moment outside the Castle Inn, when James asked if I wanted to go on a date, we've grown together and embraced new experiences and everything that we can learn from one another. James is now slightly more willing than he once was to try vegan food. And I have genuinely grown to share James's love of the Lake District. Now, again, Philip stole our best anecdotes. He pointed out that I did grow up in the Fens. James, therefore, has sometimes somewhat overestimated my hill walking abilities. Now, the one that we didn't tell Philip was the infamous occasion when James told me we would go for a lovely wander around the Fairfield Horseshoe. Yeah. Now, I don't know if anyone knows that, but 7 hours later, James was somewhat less convinced on how nice I was finding the walk.
There are many other occasions where Diana has stuck by my side or doggedly trudged after me. And these all rather affirmed that today was meant to be. I decided to propose Diana in view of Neuschwanstein Castle. I'd planned the walk, Google mapped the lakeside location of choice, even got through the baggage security check at St Pancras without her realising the ring had come with us. I hadn't factored in, however, that Diana, when surprised, sometimes becomes slightly sarcastic. Her response when I asked her to marry me? Nah, I'm good, thanks. I'm just relieved she said the correct words today.
From when we first met to the point when we can, to James's delight, call ourselves the Two Doctors. We've been blessed by all of the people around us. So, first and foremost, thank you to our families. You have loved and supported us, both individually and as a couple. James's parents, you welcomed me into your family, invited me on holidays, and keeping me well stocked with G&Ts whenever I look at them.
Diana's parents similarly welcomed me into the boarding family, and Faith is always keen to hear the details of my latest surgery and to compliment me on my suturing technique. Our families have also helped us to make today the day that we wanted. The cakes behind they were are a joint effort with my mum, Faith and Victoria. And Diana's dad was able to help us add a wonderful tribute to our cat latte on the cake. So when they reappear, do go and have a look at the cake topper later if you haven't already.
Plus, James's dad, Paul, has helped us with so many elements of today, from couriering a snooker table across the country that you'll find later, to providing us with a power sander to flatten out dozens of wine corks that you'll see in front of you.
By our side today have been my best men, Ashley and Zach. I will save my thanks to them until after I've heard what they've put in their speech. Thank you too to my brother and my sister Rachel for everything they've done to make today run smoothly.
Now, my bridesmaids today have been Rachel and Victoria. Rachel was one of the first people to learn that the guy from band that I kind of had a crush on had finally asked me out, and I'm honoured that she's been beside me today. Victoria, I'm not going to list everything that you've done helping me planning this wedding, because I think people want breakfast tomorrow. But you are the best sister that anyone could wish for, and I am so grateful for everything that you have done and continue to do. I've also been blessed to be joined by some of my church family today. Thank you to Philip, who led the service earlier, to Lawrence, who enabled my grandma, and James's grandma to join us via Zoom. And a huge thank you to Kevin, who's standing there looking the other way at the moment with his camera and his filming, who offered to make us a video of today so that we can look back on some memories in the future.
To quote the 11th Doctor, my friends have always been the best of me. Our lives are always shaped by the people we meet along the way, but it is not often that you get the opportunity to gather so many of those people together in one place. As we take this next step on our little adventure through space and time, we want to thank all of you who have travelled with us and continue to do so.
Thank you for your love, for your friendship, and for giving us the honour of walking alongside you on your journeys as you walk alongside us on ours.
So please take your glass and raise a toast to love and to friendship.
Love and friendship.
Now, Diana and James have made it known how much they appreciate the presence of every single person who is here today to share with them this celebration of the commitment that they have made to each other in marriage. The importance and value that they attribute to all of their guests can be seen in the thought and care that has been invested in ensuring that this is a day for you to enjoy as much as them. You will be aware from the wedding website that it is also a day that has been designed to be as sustainable as possible. Don't overlook taking your place-setting name cards home with you, because these, like the invitations, have been printed on seed paper, which can be planted to bring forth new life as wildflowers. Now, whilst today is about the start of a new journey, as Dr. Sturdy and Dr. Paulding Sturdy, wedding speeches would not be complete without some reference to the past. I have the great privilege of being the person in the room who has known the bride for the longest. Those who know Diana now will be aware of her love of reading and literature, hence the stacks of books that are serving as table decorations. Now, these have not been selected at random and include some of my late father's books to honour his memory as a fellow bookworm. And there are also copies of Wainwright's walking books that belong to James's grandpa and grandma that have been on the cake table as a tribute to them. Diana's love of books can be traced back to a very young age. I can remember very clearly the occasion when, as a 4-year-old, she first watched Disney's Beauty and the Beast. The moment that she became wide-eyed in wonder, and a bottom jaw fell as she sat open-mouthed, transfixed on the screen, was not when Belle appeared in a glamorous ball gown, nor the transformation of the Beast into a handsome prince, but at the moment he opened the doors and revealed the extent of his library. Diana's adult trajectory into academia and biblical studies has brought us here, to this wonderful setting of Westminster College, where she is an associate tutor. But again, the beginnings of this journey were evident in childhood. She was only about 3 years old when, having been lifted out of the bath on a Sunday evening, I asked her what she could remember from the church service that morning. In response, she provided me with a succinct 3-sentence summary of Trinitarian theology that was as, if not more, articulate than many adults could offer. Diana's love of animals saw her opt to become a vegetarian at the age of 8 and ultimately a vegan as an adult. Cooking for a young vegetarian posed some challenges in an otherwise carnivorous household, but not as much as the debate after watching an episode of Casualty as to why killing bacteria with antibiotics was not morally wrong. And whereas microbes may be a part of creation, they may at times also need to be controlled. Diana's love of books and learning and theology led her to Murray Edwards College at the University of Cambridge that stands just a stone's throw away from where we are now. And it was then that we've heard that she met a young vet med student through the University of Cambridge concert band who shared not only her musical interests and fascination with Doctor Who, but also her love of animals. Bacteria rights aside, the rights of all living creatures, human or otherwise, and of creation itself, has led Diana to become a fierce advocate for justice on many different levels. And justice is a passion that also motivated my father. To quote Diana's dedication in her thesis, her grandfather was someone with whom she would have loved the opportunity to discuss the Bible and theology, and whose wisdom, courage, and sense of justice continue to inspire her. And yes, Diana, you would have had some amazing debates and possibly even arguments with him, but ones that both of you would have enjoyed. One of the many important lessons that he taught me was a challenge to always have an open mind, because it is then and only then that one is open to new learning and possibilities. He used to sum it up by saying that the problem with arrogance is that it ultimately leads to ignorance. Talking is good. Words cost nothing but are priceless in value and deeply damaging if used unwisely. And whilst he died when Diana was too young to engage with him on such an informed level, I know that she and James have been blessed by the conversations that they have shared with my mother, whose wisdom, kindness, and resilience at 98 years of age continue to inspire us all. I am confident that in the coming years of married life together, that both Diana and James will continue to invest well in sharing together the respectful conversations that are the building block of relationships and that will continue to cement the love that they share. It is also my hope that all of those present here today will continue to support and nourish both Diana and James, and not just within word, but also in action. There are inevitably loved ones and dear friends who cannot share this glorious reception with us. Diana's granddad, James's grandpa, have already been mentioned. Thankfully, technology has allowed Diana's ma in Blakeney and James's grandma in Colwyn Bay to engage with the ceremony at Fenstanton United Reformed Church earlier today, along with members of Diana's home congregation from your church, the URC's first digital church. In that service, Victoria read prayers written by Diana's friend Hannah Fitch, who also cannot be with us in person today. With all of these, and others unnamed in mind, I invite you to raise a glass as we remember, as we give thanks for absent friends. Absent friends.
Yeah. So, following the successful induction this afternoon, I thought we should take a moment to reflect on the enormous amount of paperwork that has led to today. I've got here a reference letter, which you might find interesting. It reads, "To the Spousal Recruitment Committee, we write in support of the application of Dr. James Andrew Sturdy, MA Cantab, Vet MB, MRCBS, for the role of the husband of Dr. Diana Paulding, MA Cantab, MPhil. Probation. James is jolly lucky to have such a good reference letter. It has all the usual sections you might expect and makes economic use of the truth."
So, yes, I happen to source a copy of James' CV here. The evaluation of the application. And, where are we? He's on the right order. 1 second. No. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so, as I said, copy of the CV. And let's take a look. Right, so, I mean, start really far back, kind of unnecessary, I would say. Thorns Infant School, 1998. Says he met a kid called Ashley and have been the best of friends ever since. And actually, weirdly enough, the photo James has attached with his application seems to be from that era. Couldn't you find something more recent? Yeah. Anyway, strange to the CV. So James went to Park Hill, Kenilworth School, and many of you are here today. And you'll know that James did very well at school. That's perhaps an understatement. In fact, according to some, he was a bit of a teacher's pet. I'll have a look again. Yes, thank you. At least James is self-aware of this fact. He was so aware, in fact, that in one history lesson, on a boring afternoon, he decided to test the hypothesis that he could do no wrong. Escalating the level of naughtiness, as if he was literally throwing a chair across the room. It was only at this point that the teacher's interest was piqued. James had thoroughly disproven his hypothesis. James realised early on that he wanted to be a vet. This is an interesting choice, given that he's, what does it say here, somewhat squeamish and allergic to cats. Yeah. But veterinary science it was, and after taking the requisite subjects at A-level alongside some adventures involving canoes and whitewater rapids, in 2012 he headed to Cambridge. A fateful decision, as that will attest.
So the next section reads, Higher Education. I first met James at a breakfast laid on by the chaplain at Magdalen College when we were both freshers. He was scrawny, quiet, with a funny shade of green. After what I assume was a fairly heavy night out, I instantly decided that this was a man I could torment for the rest of his life. And took great delight in offering him increasingly unpalatable food items at the buffet to see how far his patience and his position down the Farrow and Ball colour chart for Danish law could be pushed. 13 years later, I have yet to find the limit of his patience. An excellent quality for any prospective husband. Not that it will be needed in this particular post. You understand. It carries on. I have, however, witnessed on a number of occasions the limit of his constitution. Notably, after a dinner involving slightly too much port, he managed to ignore specific instructions on how not to block a sink. and following the May ball, how not to use a waste paper basket. James showed notable ability to learn from his mistakes and has never done this again, instead turning his drunken energy to more creative outlets, such as redecorating. We have yet to fully understand what is now known as the teabag incident. I'm sure you can ask him about that later. Throughout his undergraduate years, James was an upstanding member of college society, memorably applying for the position on the student body for what is now known as the Catering and Accommodation Officer. His speech is lost to the annals of history, save for his opening line, "I have a fetish for fixing things." Which some of us later explained might not have been the best opener. In third year, James was indeed practical around the house, coming to our rescue when the college cleaner thought that the house was burning down, when he heroically turned the grill off. And assisting in the construction of a tea transporting railway between our rooms, complete with an electric bell communication system. Very practical. James is also financially astute. He and I would combine laundry loads, saving me a whopping £3 over the course of a term. He also managed to eke out a ton of instant hot chocolate powder for about 11 years, and save further money by never washing his tea mug. As an aside to the reference letter, I began to have my fears that the blissful bachelor years I spent living with James may not last forever, when Diana started making an appearance. Diana's visits to James's room sort of became a regular occurrence, much to my annoyance. Not least because the services on the tea railway were becoming rather disrupted. Not realising one day that Diana had come round for tea, I rang through the code for "Would you like some tea?" on the bell system. Knowing James was in and hearing the bell going off in his room, I was surprised that there was no response. I tried a second time with no response. And the third time I tried, I found to my surprise that the bells had been disconnected. Going back to the reference letter. Through our undergraduate years, James was unwaveringly, unreasonably supportive as a friend, often staying up ridiculous hours while I finished my lab reports in his room so I could use his printer and eat his dad's excellent fruitcake. James builds strong and lasting relationships through his unfailing reliability and support for the people he cares about, and generosity with his time and energy and excellent sense of humour. In James, Diana, you have not only an excellent, funny, well-qualified husband, but a rock-solid, you could say sturdy. Yes.
Okay, so let's continue here. Relevant skills is the next section. James has a wide-ranging and practical skill set. He's a keen musician, deft with the flute and piano. He can navigate you across hills and mountains, as long as he avoids those dangerous tussocks. He can speak fluent German and can grow some mighty fine vegetables. He's a mean tiddlywinker, although whatever James's tiddlywink skills may be, they pale in comparison, of course, to Joanne's, and being ranked 381st out of 996 worldwide. He also states here that he is an experienced Crash Bandicoot player, expert Pokemon trainer, keen Ruvian, connoisseur of tea, and a prolific cross-stitcher. All in all, Diana, just the skills you want in a husband.
We move on to work experience. James has accrued a large body of skills, beneficial to the would-be husband, throughout his time as a trainee and a qualified vet. On second thoughts, I think we better skip this part. I think you can fill in the blanks yourself.
let's go. Yeah. So that brings us to some concluding remarks. And after much deliberation, although to be honest, we didn't have to deliberate too much, Zach and I have reached a verdict. We wholeheartedly support James for the role of husband without reservation. Let us raise a glass to the bride and groom.